ready to podcast some live strange occurrences. Much better. Okay. So. Okay. Let's get that microphone ready. It's got a little buzz to it. A little bit of a loose wire. I don't know how that happens, but much better. No reverb. All right, here's my friendly mic. Okay. I've got ladybugs surrounding me. What's up, you guys? Happy to have you here. I'm just pulling up my studio. Itchy nose. All right. It's the ladybugs. There's a ladybug right on my monitor here. Maybe you'll see him or her. All right, so I am just pulling up a couple of things. Stay tuned, because I am talking about a personal paranormal experience tonight. So, yeah, it's just crazy. And because I wrote about it in 2019, and it is now 2024, I'm actually looking up my old article that's on my blog, which you can find in my bio. But I'm looking right now. Moon River. Whoops. I'm sorry you're watching the boring stuff right now. All right, here is my article. I wrote it down as soon as it happened. So I thank you guys for joining. You're going to watch me count down my recording. 3. It is another episode of Strange Occurrences live on TikTok, where you can find me every Wednesday, Eastern Standard Time at 7 p.m. You can also email me at strangeoccurrencesthepodcast@gmail.com if you have a horror story of your own that you would like to share. So tonight I am sharing with you a personal story that happened to me in Savannah, Georgia in 2019. Oddly enough, if you look on my earlier TikToks today, you will see on this day, and you will see the post that I put up about being at the Moon River Brewing Company, which is one of Savannah's most haunted buildings. It has a very rich history. But before we get to that, I would like you guys to check out my brooches that I'm wearing. They are eyeballs. And you can find the link right here in the description below on the live. I'm wearing them as brooches. I think that they're very interesting, but you can also put them in your ears. And I don't know, I just thought that they would add something as a brooch. You can turn them in all different directions and give it your own vibe and funk and style. And these are Gothic Rose approved. So go ahead and check these out. Now, in 2019, I ended up living in Savannah, Georgia after quite the traumatic experience. Literally lost everything. My home, my business, all the money was gone. Almost all the money was gone. And we were living in a camper with our 2 dogs. We now have 3. And our cat, all of whom made it all the way to Savannah, Georgia, and back with us in a camper when we lived in the woods and state forests and swamps, all sorts of crazy places, a whole other story. But after a few months, we were lucky enough to get a roof over our heads, which not a lot of people do get that chance ever again. We were very lucky after losing everything. So it was like a world away from home. Savannah, Georgia, from New York, Westchester County, almost near New York City. And I was just so out of place. But the one thing that I loved was the fact that there was so much haunted history in Savannah. It's got a very dark history as well. And I was looking for things to do. It was the fall. It was around Halloween. And I was just scrolling through Google or Instagram or who knows. And I came across The Haunting at Moon River Brewing Company. Now, some of you may know this if you have followed Ghost Adventures for a long time. I believe that was one of the first places that they went to investigate. And I could not wait to join this tour. It happened to be the very last tour. So that would have been October 31st, 2019, and it was, even the people in Georgia said it was unseasonably warm that particular night for Halloween. So it was a very interesting place. If you've seen the Ghost Adventures episode, they get into the history, and they got in a little further into the whole area, the whole restaurant, than we did. But we did get to go into the basement. Now, I don't mention this a lot on TikTok because I am not a social media psychic medium. I am just simply a psychic medium, and if you know that, sometimes I can help. But I do tarot readings and other sorts of divination as well. Kind of goes with the Gothic Rose theme. But I also get the messages. And I hear the things. And I see the things. And honestly, I absolutely love it. Sometimes it's freaky. Sometimes it scares me a lot. But I love it. And when you get to experience things, because you can, I want to say, like, switch your vibrations, almost manipulate your vibrations to catch on to other realms, you really get to experience the world in a whole new way. So I could not wait to go on this tour. And if you believe in like kismet or any kind of synchronicity, I felt very out of place as a New Yorker in Georgia, but I feel out of place as a New Yorker anywhere, for real. And I did feel much more comfortable when I was around, crystals and metaphysical shops and haunted buildings and historical buildings. For some reason, that kind of helped me connect better to the area. So I wrote the story down immediately as it happened because now it's been 5 years. So I remember bits and pieces. So I'm going to read to you from my blog, which you can find the link in my bio, the Riche Life blog, a simply luxurious lifestyle on a budget with lots of tips and tricks for everyday lifestyle hacks. So go ahead and check that out. Subscribe if you'd like. And also, if you do miss this live, you can catch up on Spotify and YouTube. All right, so downtown Savannah, Georgia is beautiful. It is historic. It's got the river. It's probably one of the most beautiful cities in the United States. And the food is amazing. I had a weird experience there as well because at that time I think I was just like attracting bad vibes. But other than that, being in such a historic city and getting to live there for a little while was, I thought pretty incredible, because it was something I never thought would happen. And even though it happened in a strange way that was very unplanned, I got to experience the South, which I never thought I would. And the food and the Southern charm and all the good stuff. So, the way I start this blog is October 31st, the day the veil between worlds, the living and the non-living, is at its thinnest. We all do know that. It's Samhain, if you follow. The Witch's New Year. And the following 2 days, All Souls Day and Dios de los Muertos, are to honor those who have passed. So, I signed us up for a ghost tour at the Moon River Brewing Company, one of the oldest and most haunted buildings in Savannah. Formerly the City Hotel, in 1832, it was the site of a red rum of an unpopular man from the north by a prevalent doctor and very upstanding citizen. Now, you can find more all about this story on the Ghost Adventures Travel Channel episode. But what happened was the doctor, the upstanding citizen, they still didn't like him, is what I want to say. They still didn't take to him. So the hotel now primarily remained unused until the 1990s because this unaliving was vicious. And also it served as a hospital. So if you went up to like the 4th floor, there were Civil War soldiers up there, I believe from both sides, Confederate and Union, and there was a lot of pain in this place. So it remained unused. It's sitting for over 100 years. And Savannah, they describe as one big cemetery. So this building truly, and you've seen it on TV and I was there, can say has become a portal to another dimension. Former living as well as non-living creatures, things that have never breathed air on Earth, roam in these dark corners. And they really do. In 1995, while a crew was renovating the 3rd floor, the foreman's wife was violently pushed down a flight of stairs. He quit on the spot and no one has been back to renovate since. And seeing it, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. We were not allowed to go up to the 3rd floor. You could see the stairs. And if you go to the blog called The Haunting at Moon River on Reach Life, you can see all of the photos. So, our night started with a dinner at the bar. Now, the food was absolutely fantastic. So, at the time, I was an appetizer person. I had to order like 2 or 3 different appetizers and have a good time. So, I ordered some fried green tomatoes because I was in the South and I could not get enough of those. And chorizo stuffed mushrooms. They were really good. So, but I gotta say that the fried green tomatoes really won the night. I think I got the chorizo mushrooms just so I had some protein in me. And then my husband got the bacon Swiss burger, medium rare, cooked to perfection, brioche roll, onion rings, 10 out of 10. So we had a great dinner. We were ready. We're yeah, we're going to go on this haunted tour. This is awesome. But as we're sitting there, of course, I order my famous Pinot Noir. I don't drink as much as I used to, but I love my Pinot Noir. So I'm looking at it, and I remember taking a few pictures and jokingly calling it a glass of blood. I'm just going to recommend to anybody that if you're in anywhere haunted and you're drinking red wine, that you do not call it a glass of blood, because that statement came back to haunt me hours later. So we checked in, and there were a lot of people on this tour. It was the last one, The Haunting. It was already like scattered energy. Even when you walk into the restaurant itself, there's scattered energy, and the staff, I believe, signs waivers understanding how haunted this place is, and that people get pushed and touched and all sorts of things can happen. So, as I said, Savannah was unseasonably warm. It was humid, very, very humid. And, you know, that's the heavy energy, and it makes the other world more potent when the air is thick. Kind of just helps that portal, you know, it's sticky. It pulls you through. So we checked in, and this very large group headed up these very, very old, creaky stairs to a dimly lit space of what once must have been an absolutely stunning hotel, because the size of the rooms were gigantic, but it was now a bare bones shell of its former self, with the spirits happily haunting the staff and the guests. So we get up to the second floor, and as we're making our way upstairs, this wave of my grandmother's house, and her house was built, I believe, in the 1920s. But I just had this wave of this memory of her home, because it had the same historic haunted smell. There is a specific smell to haunted buildings. It's like a mix of musty old and fresh air all at once. I can't explain it. Maybe I just did. But I know what I'm smelling when I smell it. So I start taking some pictures. The air up there is very hot. It's very heavy. And it's very, very silent. But there were no anomalies in any of my photographs. But the heaviness was not, in my opinion, just because of the humidity. The heaviness was because of the spirits with unfinished business, and because it was the veil that was thin on the 31st. It was Halloween. This weather, I believe, you know, like when the fog rolls in, you see the ghost ship on the ocean kind of a thing. This heavy, thick air just brought in all of these spirits, and I could not just feel them moving, but I could see them and hear them running between the walls, like between the wooden slats of lath that you could still see through the walls. So here we are, and you know, now I'm feeling surrounded. They're watching, and everybody else starts to feel it now too. It's like, whoa, 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 this is not a joke, they're thinking, because they were thinking, this is fun, this is funny, this is entertainment. This is like a haunted house. But unless the haunted house actually has spirits already in it, and I do have a story up on my podcast from my friend Dana out here in Wisconsin. You can find that on YouTube and Spotify. They just, a haunted building, a haunted house, something with haunted history is very, very different than a ha-ha funny, scare the pants off of me haunted house. So now everything gets very eerie, gets very quiet, gets very calm. So the history of the former city hotel was explained with the red rum. And at that time, our host gave us a black tourmaline for protection. So now the energy seems to dim down. Now I'm like, okay, is the black tourmaline working? Is it protecting us? Is it mind over matter? Is it a collective mind over matter? Or are the spirits like, okay, we see you. We see your black tourmaline and we raise you. Because we're not going anywhere. So I felt them watching from the corners, but they were not at that moment going to give anybody a show, but that did change very quickly. So now we go from the second floor past the restaurant on the first floor where all the dining is and all the brewing and the kitchen and all the good stuff's going on. It smells delicious, right? Now we get down into the basement. Oh, the basement. So now everybody's excitement is up. They're like, this is not a haunted house. Nothing's popping out to scare us. There's no one dressed like a zombie or a vampire. These are spirits. So all that feeling of being watched, that's otherworldly. So we have our history lesson, our black tourmaline, and there's zero activity. There's nothing. So now the crowd is getting restless and everybody was drinking. So they're ready for another round. And what I do remember is I had a glass at the bar, but when we got into the basement, we had plastic, and I will tell you why. So everyone's getting restless, and everyone comes bounding. When I say bounding down the stairs, it was like a party boat. It was incredible. So we noisily enter the basement to get drinks, and as I said, I am a psychic medium. I see, I hear, I feel it. It's all there. And I see a couple, and they're dressed in these high collars, flowy clothing, white. The woman's got dark hair, and it's all back in a bun. And the man is wearing, like, a hat with, like, not a wide brim. It almost, I would say, looked like Quaker or Amish, but earlier than that. So I'm looking at these two floating figures. And the man in the hat, like, starts screaming at me, too loud, shut up, make them shut up, everybody shut up. And they were screaming at me, telling me to try to quiet down this crowd, because when I tell you I see spirits, like, I'm literally a magnet. I am a magnet for spirits. So the woman, her hair and her eyes are wild, and the man looks up at me from under the hat, and she's angry, and they're saying all these other things. And then I saw these other shadow figures in the corners, and what I believe looked like the Slender Man. Now, that's not my first sighting of the Slender Man. I spoke about my grandmother's haunted house sometime in the 1980s. I don't quite remember when. My grandmother had a huge oak door and 6-pane window on the top of it. So you could see just out the top. But the bottom was like heavy oak door. So, the sound, the light, the cold couldn't get through. But the door was open. And then there was a screen door to a porch. And then the front door to the stairs. So the big oak door is open. And there I am, young. And I see something bright, like 2 eyeballs, yellowy green, glowing at me. And I'm, curious kid. So I look behind the door and I see the Slender Man. Before anybody knew who he was wearing a bowler hat and a 3/4 length jacket. And he was about 6'5", and his eyes were greenish. So I don't know where the rest of the Slender Man thing came from. I'm telling you what I saw in the 80s. And then I saw the 700 Club that described him as the Slender Man. I know. So I saw a lot of different things. So I'm not sure if Slender Man is made up, but I'm telling you, I saw a tall man with yellow-green eyes and a bowler hat and a 3/4 jacket dressed in full black in my grandmother's window of her door, standing in the corner by the bell where the chimes were for the bell. And I got the bejesus scared out of me, and I grabbed my sister by her pants, like her waistband of her pants, and I threw her because I didn't want her to see it. And I was so scared to go back for a very long time. So now I'm seeing this same figure down in this basement. And I'm like, all right. So our host makes a salt circle. So this is the first salt circle that she made. And she says a prayer to St. Peter. And the basement lights start flickering. So these spirits are active. But a skeptic would say someone upstairs is flickering the lights. And I absolutely could totally understand that. Because it seemed like, okay, why are these lights flickering? But as we know, spirits can do things like that. Now, there's one spirit at the Moon River Brewing Company named Toby. And it says that Toby can be either good or bad. But since no one plays nice, in his opinion, he's always bad. So the first disturbance was this couple. Now, we get into the salt circle, and now the couple goes like bananas. They're losing their minds. They're screaming. Their faces are contorting. The eyes are getting really wide. Their jaws are getting long, like Beetlejuice stuff. It was so intense. And like I said, I've experienced things, but I have never experienced anything quite as intense and vivid as what I saw at the Moon River Brewing Company. So they're screaming louder and I'm hearing them. Get out, make them shut up. And because all the women are in shorts or flip-flops and skirts and, tank tops, they yelled, all the women are WHORES. Now, I asked the guide, I said, is there a couple down here? Because they're screaming all these things. And she confirmed my vision. So I told her what I was hearing. And she repeated my words. And this is where I could see somebody's like, this is staged. But I promise you it was not. One of the trigger objects that she placed up on a shelf, a black glass bottle, shattered right outside of the salt circle into a million pieces. And if you look on the TikTok today, you can see it. There is an eyeball in one of the pieces of glass, like staring out of whatever it just released from that bottle. There was like a doll in the corner that was moving. There was a lot going on. So here I am, and I'm like, this is crazy. This is an amazing experience because I had never met the host before now. And no one was near those trigger objects. So I'm like, I'm wondering if people thinking like this is entertainment, right? Like we staged this, but I had never met this woman before. I didn't know much about the people down in the basement area until I got down there myself, except for maybe what I remembered from the Travel Channel. So now I'm feeling it. The spirits are like, step out of the circle. Step out, come on, step out. I really wanted to. I wanted to go through the third floor, the rest of the basement that they wouldn't go through. It was weird, but they were very tempting. They were very taunting. And now my adrenaline is running. But of course, I didn't want to be the bad example. And I stayed in the salt circle. So now she opened a small portal for us to exit the circle. And then all of a sudden, this freezing cold air starts coming into the circle. It was very warm in the circle. But as she opened it, you could sense the difference in air in the circle from outside. Now it's freezing cold. So it was like hard for me to concentrate. Now I had a drink in my hand and it helped keep me grounded. And I really just have like a full memory of just holding that cup in my hand and kind of concentrating on it now because when you're in that kind of energy, you can get pulled in so many directions. So we go to Salt Circle 2. Now the second room is really, really active. So she does the salt circle, and that pull for me to like step outside was just more assertive. There were faces in the mirror looking back, and there was a little demon thing running around, which I think was Toby and Slender Man. And then I saw a flash of what looked like a cowboy, like in pixelated green. If you remember, like the Oregon Trail black screen with green. And that's what I saw, and he just walked through with his hat. I'm like, what is going on? So now, like, my senses are on overload. I'm like, this is crazy. But I can't stop. I have to keep going. I have to keep looking. I'm not scared. I'm like, you know, this is amazing. Like, my mind is blown. So the lights are completely out. I'm tempted. I'm like, I got to step out this salt circle. And I'm going to tell you something. It wasn't all that protective. So I'm seeing this little thing hop around, and I kind of crouch down on the floor, and it looks like a dog, but with like pointy ears. And do you know how everyone says that the 3 claws, the 3 scratches? I had seen these things in shadow form in my grandmother's house, and they have a 3-claw foot. And that's what this thing had that I believe was Toby. And I'm like, that's the thing that scratches you the 3 times. Like, that's like its job. So it's pretty creepy. So I squat down to see Toby, and like he kind of made me lose my balance, which is why I squatted down. And then I see those little 3-clawed shapeshifters, Toby things. They kind of like were part of him, and he was like the leader. I don't know. It was really strange, but like I said, that's the 3 scratches, and I'm like dizzy, and I'm like, I touched the floor, and I'm like, I don't know if that was a good idea. Now I feel all weird. I stand back up, and I'm like, I screamed. So in my mind's eye, I see this finger like this long, and it's like gray and black with a big nail, and I feel a poke right in the center of my back into my stomach, like a hot poker. I'm like, oh, and I scream like something touched me. I'm like, something touched me through the salt circle. So circle was open. Boom, the haunting's over. It was only like a 90-minute, maybe 2 hours. I don't quite remember, but what I remember is I was all fired up, and I had a glass of wine, and I put it down. And I was like, I am done with alcohol for the night. And I started drinking water. So we stayed, and I'm chatting with the host at the bar for a little while. Like I said, I stopped drinking water completely directly after. And around 11 p.m., we drove home and took our black tourmaline stones, and I left them outside with the jewelry I wore and some Palo Santo to cleanse them. Now I'm going to show you guys something, so please hold for this brief station identification. I can't believe I forgot this part. All right, hold, sing a song. I'll be right back. Okay. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Check it out. What does she have, you ask? What is here? This is the black tourmaline right here from the haunting that night. Whatever energies were trapped in there, I've got it in there with some stuff and a wax seal and a ton of dust. But yeah, there it is. I kept all that energy in there. Never opened that. So I cleansed everything with Palo Santo. I sealed it with a few things: black salt, egg white powder, Florida water, bay leaf. And I did that a few days later. I let this thing cleanse outside for a long time. Now, let's get back to my statement that haunted me. And I will never open it. My statement that haunted me. I drank a glass of blood. Oh my. So now it's after midnight. It's 2.5 hours after the whole thing is over. We left Moon River, and I felt like I drank 3 bottles of wine. Now I had stopped by 11:30. Maybe right now it's about 1:45, but I couldn't go to sleep. Now suddenly I'm dizzy. I'm having vertigo. And when I say fiery nausea radiated through me, I was like, whoo, why do I feel like I just drank 3 bottles of wine in 3 minutes? I'm like, this is insane. So now I'm sitting there. My vision is twisted. My ears are ringing. And I'm sweating. And then the joke. Drinking a glass of blood, it came back to haunt me. So sometime after midnight, between 1:30 a.m., I became violently ill. I was vomiting blood for what I say 30 minutes. It felt like 30 minutes. I think I had my phone next to me. Yes, I did. And I'm thinking to myself, as I'm sitting on the bathroom floor, I might need a priest if I start to vomit black sludge. And I'm thinking, where's a church? Where's a Catholic church in Savannah? And it's like St. John the Baptist Church, I believe. And I'm like, I got to get a priest. So I'm sick. I pull myself together. I clean myself up, take a shower. It's 1:37 a.m. I had lost so much time between midnight and then. I mean, I realized it was an hour and 37 minutes, let's say, but it felt quicker in some ways and much longer in others. It was very strange. So I passed out and I woke up the next day feeling like every ounce of pain at that time, and my life was purged from my system. So I'm not sure quite what happened. I believe that me paying attention to these spirits and honoring them because they're not at rest and they have a story to tell is a good thing, but also the biggest lesson is like what the power of like certain dark energies can actually do to you, and you have to respect the dark energies and don't tempt it unless you're ready for literal horror story nightmare stuff, because that is where this comes from. Horror stories are not made up. It comes from a little place of reality. Something happened. There's other realms. They exist. So the part that I couldn't shake was the couple. I'm like, who is this couple? Now, they knew I could see and hear them. They knew that I knew they were angry, that they are pushed aside as the main spirits residing in the basement of Moon River Brewing Company. They're pushed aside for Toby. It's like Toby's like the marketable one. So I'm like, all right, they want to be remembered for their work in Savannah. Who are they? So I'm meditating and I get the year 1724. I'm like, okay. Now, I looked that up, and the reason that was significant is because Savannah wasn't established as a city until 1733. But there were tribes and there were colonies. So off to research I go, and I searched couples in Savannah in 1724, and I came across a woman who was Native Indigenous and English. And she served as an intermediary between the natives and English colonists. So I'm looking for 1724, and I come across the historical figure Mary Musgrove, who moved from her native home in 1725. And those years were significant to her. So the feelings I got were possible regret leaving her native home, or she wanted to show me her journey in 1 year from a life she knew to something brand new. But Mary Musgrove wants her accolades. So I did find out that there was a statue, and it was put up in honor of Mary Musgrove in Savannah. So I thought that was interesting. Her Her other name was Kusaponiska. Oh boy, I probably butchered that, I'm sorry. And she was born in 1700 and passed in 1765 and was a leading figure in early Georgia history. She was the daughter of Edward Griffin, an English-born trader from Charlestown in the province of Carolina, and the Muscogee Creek mother. Fluent in local Creek languages as well as English, Mary became an important intermediary between the Muscogee Creek natives and early colonists. Musgrove carved out a life that merged both cultures, making a significant contribution to the development of colonial Georgia. Very interesting. So, in the blog, there is her Wikipedia page. But it was very interesting that I happened to come across her and, that's what she wanted to know. So I'm going to just do a quick live dive because I do believe that Mary Musgrove was given a statue. So let's do our live dive here. Statue Savannah. Maybe I'm just wishful thinking. Let's see. So, there's information about her in the Georgia Historical Society. I'm just waiting for that to pull up. And it says the same things, the exact same things. But there is a plaque to her. So maybe it's not a statue. Maybe it's a plaque. But she wanted us to know of her existence, her and her husband, John. He was a pastor. So it was very interesting to me. I don't know if you guys have ever gone on any haunted tours, have had any experiences like that. But if you want to let me know, you can email me at strangeoccurrencesthepodcast@gmail.com. And I would love to hear your story. If you'd like to be on the show itself, you have to be 21 plus. But I will take your story and read it for you if you wish to remain anonymous. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this live episode of Strange Occurrences, Dark Entertainment. I will be back next week with more. Thank you so much for joining me on this live TikTok tonight. Have a good one, you guys. I'll see you on the next episode. You guys having a good night? See my demons? Am I too weird with liking my little demons? Ah! Creepy, isn't it? Yeah, I know. I wear eyeball brooches and I have demons in a glass jar. Lucky I had this glass jar. I don't even know where I got it. So anyway, you guys. Oh, I got some gifts. That's sweet. I don't know what any of this means, but I appreciate it. I'm trying my hardest. Yeah. So, I hope that you guys have a good night. I have an itchy nose. I hate when that happens. Why does that happen? It's so weird. So I'm shutting off my mic. Ah! It's unseasonably warm here in New York. Unseasonably. So, anyway, I will see you guys. Thank you all for joining. And if you guys want to ever join me on a live, I just have to get you hooked up on Riverside also, so we could see and hear the whole conversation for audio and video, which is maybe a goal. Yeah, it's a goal. I don't know. It's all a goal. No idea. What I do know is it's time for me to chill. So I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I will see you soon.